Good morning. This is Dylan Jovine from Behind the Markets. Happy Monday. Today is February 24th, the last week in February. Holy mackerel. We start another week together, our last week in February. And as you can see, I am wearing a sweatshirt because it is a little colder here in South Florida than it has been for the past month. I also have to rush after this to go to the dentist because I woke up this morning, I drank some coffee, and all of a sudden my tooth over here said to me, "Hello, Dylan. Hi, Dylan. We need to take a trip to the dentist." So I am going to rush to the dentist and take care of that because that's not pleasant. Anyway, so today I want to talk about, we've seen last week, it's like Trump and Musk really went on this kind of full court press, interviews after interview, to show no daylight between them two. Because there's a lot of people on the left, certainly, that are trying to create division between them, and some people on the right that are saying Musk should go, Steve Bannon and people like that. They clearly wanted to show that they are in lockstep together on this mission of Doge. And that's great, and that's fine, and I get it. Elon Musk, in one of the interviews with Sean Hannity, really did a pretty good job of explaining why this is so important. And he really talks about it is important for the United States to cut down its debt. And he really goes into explaining what we've been talking about here for a while. He does it in a very good way, and it's nice to have VIPs also saying what we've been really banging the bell on for the last 6 months. When Elon says, basically, he says literally, interest rates are high because we have too much debt. And once we really come up with a credible plan to pay down that debt and start chipping away, a real credible plan, interest rates could start to go down, which is really what we want to see. And to really hammer this point home, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was really chastising Janet Yellen of the Biden administration's Treasury Secretary, the whole time saying to Janet Yellen, "Why aren't you selling long-term bonds? Why do you keep selling one-year bonds? You're going to have to refinance them in a year, and interest rates could be much higher." So he really beat up on her for that. And as soon as he got into the Treasury, he saw basically that she really had no choice, that investors are not going to pay 4.5% or not going to get paid 4.5% by the U.S. government, basically an interest rate over 30 years, where they can get 4% for 1 year. Seriously, you're not going to, that's why there's really no demand at the long end of the curve. So I encourage you to watch that Elon Musk interview, Elon Musk, Donald Trump with Sean Hannity. He really breaks down the whole point why this is very important for us. We talk a lot about this in Midnight in America. We really talk about how it's very important for the U.S. to get this debt under control, because we are headed right towards a financial crisis, as we talk about. And people say, "What's the United States? We're not going to have," they can't fathom. Most folks can't wrap their minds around what a financial crisis in America looks like. But you're starting to see some of it now. Trump wants to pull our troops out of Europe, lower our footprint, stop paying as much. That's because we're very boxed in financially. We don't have the ability, trying to cut spending everywhere. We don't have the flexibility to really keep spending the money the way that we've been spending. And if we don't get this under control very soon, there's a small window, really a small window. If we don't get this under control, the United States is going to face a terrific problem. And the financial crisis that comes is not going to look like most people expect. It's going to be worse than most people can imagine. And since we do live in a country that can print its own currency, the outlines look something like this. We start printing to pay. We start printing to pay every time. We start printing so much that basically inflation spikes to 15, 20%. And you have a few years where you have these inflation spikes, sends everything down, destroys the value of money that you have saved up in everything that you have it in. And that, of course, would destroy the stock market, really destroy everything as we understand it. We would live in a completely different world than America. So I am grateful that the people at top are taking this seriously. Even President Trump said we should cut 20% of the checks, the money that we save from Doge, we should cut that money and send it to people. But House Speaker Mike Johnson quickly came out and said, no, we have to pay down debt. We have to pay down debt. So it's showing you that the people in charge are actually talking to the bond market, to the buyers of the debt. And the bond market is really saying to them, look, you got to get your house in order. This is the inside baseball. This is what's going on behind the markets of everything that you're seeing here. The bond market is saying to these people, the biggest investors in the world, the countries, the sovereign wealth funds, the institutional investors, the BlackRocks of the world, are saying, the PIMCOs of the world are saying to the U.S. government, get your house in order. Get your house in order. If you don't get your house in order, we're not going to be buying bonds and we cannot answer for the consequences. Now, if we decide to keep the blowout spending, which is unfortunately more likely than not, we'll see if there's political will, I urge you to get your copy of Midnight in America. It's a book we wrote breaking down 4 steps you need to take to deal with the next crisis. And look, ladies and gentlemen, you want this copy anyway because over the last 30 years, just 35 years since I've been doing this, there's been one stock market meltdown on average, one every 4.8 years. So you know one's coming. So I'm giving you the playbook that I developed many years, over decades really, and it's a good playbook. When the 2009 market crash happened, we just killed it. So I want to share this with you. It's the same playbook I'm leaving to my kids. I urge you to get yourself a copy. Anyway, have a great Monday. Off to the dentist.